Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Rockman Power Hour. We're really happy to have you with us. And again, this has been so much fun. A dream come true for all of us to be able to bring episodes like this to you every week. And we appreciate all the positive response that we've been getting from all the past episodes. And make sure you catch up on all the other ones. If you haven't heard them yet, they're available now on our YouTube page, or you can simply download them on whatever podcast streaming service you use. We're on all of them. I want to welcome my co-host, Ryan Stick. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, dude. How's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm freaked out because we both saw Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon
Yes, we did.
City. And that was way more terrifying than I thought it was going to be.
You know what? For sure. And just right off the bat, I know it's the beginning of the episode, but just to say, everybody out there is just like, why do they reboot things? Why do they remake things? Is Mila Jovovich in this? I've been looking up this movie since seeing it, and facts about it and facts about the game, because I never really played the games. And this is the most, like, if you want to take the video game and a straight adaptation, this is actually an adaptation.
Yeah.
Those movies from the late 90s and early 2000s, those were kind of like their own thing. It was actually kind of a prequel to the game, but Mila Jovovich's character was never even in the video games ever.
Right.
Yeah. So this is like a straight up adaptation of the first game or two, I believe. And it's kind of astounding the amount of effort when it comes down to the characters, the production design, everything. It's kind of amazing. We're living in a world now where people really take the IP seriously and the lore seriously, and how different it is from the 2000s when they usually take video games in name only and then make it into a movie, as opposed to now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, we want to get it down to the sweater.
Well, it's like the 2000 X-Men movie. You watch that and it's great. We're all excited. It's an X-Men movie, but now they wouldn't even think twice about putting Wolverine in a yellow and blue or black costume, or, or a brown and beige costume, whatever costume, because they would care so much about it. And it's such a great point you bring up. Like, the IPs now are treated with so much respect. Last week we spoke about Cowboy Bebop, the new series on Netflix. And I mean, God, talk about paying attention to the IP. If that would have been done, 20 years ago, and I know Cowboy Bebop came out in 98, but if that would have been done 20 years ago, Spike Spiegelman wouldn't have been in a blue jacket with a big yellow collar. He would have been in like some black leather. Remember when all the superheroes were just all wearing black leather costumes? Like, we're beyond that now, and it's great. And what you say is so true. I mean, Resident Evil fans of the game, their minds are gonna be blown when they see this, because everyone I'm talking to are all saying the same thing. Is there the mansion? Is there the police precinct? And I'm like, yes and yes. So I think this is something that people have been waiting a long time for. Before we get too far ahead, Ryan, I do want to thank this week's sponsor, Playground Poker. Playground Poker are an incredible sponsor to have. They've been just nothing but great. They've even invited us to come down and play some poker, which I think is pretty comical when I think of you and I trying to play poker. I mean, I know I could have a good poker face, but I'm sure I would just get washed out right away. But if you are into poker, Playground Poker is located right over the Mercier Bridge, about 15 minutes away from Montreal, downtown Montreal, I should say. And they're just a wonderful place. I always say, going to Vegas would be fun, but you can go to Vegas right here in Montreal by just crossing over the Mercier Bridge. They've got over 40 poker tables, over 500 slot machines, and they offer free beverages, non-alcoholic and alcoholic, to all people that are playing. And right now, the poker bad beat jackpot is over $500,000. And Ryan, if you're a smoker, that's the other big allure about going to Vegas, right? Like, you can smoke in the casinos and stuff. They have got a fully properly ventilated and separated from the general gaming floor smoking area where you can actually smoke, which is a big plus for a lot of people that do smoke. So
that's true, man. Yeah.
I want to go in there with my cigar and lose everything.
I'm going to go in there with some Popeye cigarettes and just pretend I'm cool. Yeah.
There's also a free valet service, and it's open 24/7 and on-site dining too. If you want more information, just go check out playground.ca, and they are a wonderful sponsor to have. So we want to thank them again for sponsoring this week's episode. So Resident Evil.
Yeah.
We briefly touched on the fact that, there's been a tremendous amount of attention paid to the IP, but I was literally scared watching this, and I didn't expect to be. at all. And that's the worst. That's almost the best way to be scared, but it's the worst way to be scared because you're really scared. But I was really scared.
Yeah. No, dude, you brought up a really good point before about how adaptions back in the day would have been like they would have been too scared to put Wolverine in yellow spandex and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of after Batman and Robin happened and the colossal failure of that they're like all costumes have to go. And
Yeah.
and this is stupid and let's make it cool because that
Yeah.
it worked with Blade. They're like just put him in Matrix outfits. And the thing is with movies and action movies is they're like everything has to be like the Matrix. Every character has to be an unstoppable killing machine. And
Yeah.
what's interesting about this video game and this movie, it's really about survival. Like every human is average. They could be a good shot, but everybody is in danger. And if a horde of zombies gets on you, you can't do a slow motion backflip
Yeah.
over bullets. You're dead.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And it's,
Yeah.
I don't want to give anything away, but
Mm.
yeah, man, it's pretty brutal. so we're lucky this week to have on the Rockman Power Hour Robbie Amell, and now he's an interesting guy because we've talked about Robbie Amell at length, and he's someone that's kind of come up and had to do that pretty boy dance, and you know exactly what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, where you're just this good looking guy who's like but man, he has passed over that. And now he's really showing that he's got some acting chops, and that I think he's here to stay, and I think he's got a lot to give the acting world, and movies and television, because he's proving it. Everything he takes on, he's knocking out of the park. And in the interview today, we chatted about some of the other projects he's doing, but in Resident Evil, I mean, he delivers and he's convincing, but he's also, there's just something about him that you just kind of want to root for him. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Robbie Amell, I've seen him in tons of roles over the years. I mean, he played Fred in some lesser known live action Scooby-Doo movies. He was hilarious in The Babysitter. Like, I think that's one of he's really funny. So as soon as they stopped making him just like, a stand-in pretty boy, and started giving him something funny to do, he's great at that too. What you're going to get out of this interview, everybody, when you hear it, is that he is a fan like us, and he's a fan of Resident Evil, and a large part of the casting and him being in it is that they wanted to do the video game right, and I think they did.
And he's really likable. He's Canadian, right? So come on, let's face it. Like, most Canadians are fairly humble, and unless you're Drake, I don't think we're
handsome. Robbie Amell right now is on a mountain somewhere chopping down trees and saving like puppies from fires and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then killing zombies. But he's what I like about him,
selling paper towels. Yeah. Bounty.
What I like about him is that he's you can tell that he's getting a stride now. Like, people are going to start calling him for things, and you're right. When I saw Upload, he's really good in Upload, and that's a whole other side of him that I never even knew he had. So we touched on that when we chatted. But I think, as far as the Resident Evil thing and his role in this, I think he delivers, and I think he's convincing. And I was really genuinely impressed with this movie overall. I mean, I thought the cast was good. I thought they delivered what they needed to do. And when you're going into a Resident Evil movie, even if it's a reboot, you're not looking for Oscar quality anything. But I thought, for the type of movie it was really done well. And there's so many movies like this that are being done now with the zombie theme, Ryan. You know that. That genre has just been mined, and people continue mining it. But it was good. It was good. It was fun. But what impressed me the most was I actually got scared.
Yeah, it's a horror movie first and not just action porn like the old ones. And the old ones, if you're a fan of them, it's all good. But after The Matrix, that's what people are really into. They're really into big, huge, enormous, apocalyptic stuff. And that's where the movies really go. But this is very self-contained. This is kind of like, instead of like living in the biggest zombie apocalypse you've ever seen where tanks will explode, what happens when a small town gets an infection? And there's a mysterious thing happening with a corporation and being quarantined, something I think we all can kind of relate to a lot more than we've ever had in our entire lives.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite topical right now. Anything to do with any kind of a virus or anything spreading or anybody having to stay away. I mean, that the
Yeah.
fear of God has been in everybody over the last 18 or 19 months or 20 months or however long it's been. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of good timing for it as well.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that the Umbrella Corporation and all that, like that imagery of the Umbrella Corporation and the logo has been kind of it's super popular now in pop culture. I mean, let's remember that the Resident Evil movies as a franchise have grossed, like I think we were talking about, like over $1 billion. I mean, they've grossed a
Yeah.
lot of money. So I was kind of happy when, there's those scenes in the orphanage where you see the Umbrella Corporation posters and stuff. And that made me say, oh, okay. So we're still keeping things kind of like, if you're a fan of the other ones, you're not going to come into this and be disappointed. If anything, you're going to enjoy the fresh outlook on it. And if you're a fan of the game, you're going to be so happy that this has finally been done justice.
Hey, what's really funny about the Umbrella Corporation and this movie is that it has Tom Hopper from the Umbrella Academy, and
Oh, yes, it's true.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So it's really cool to see that actor not walking around with hulking gorilla arms,
Yeah.
and just appreciate his hulking human arms, which dude's big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
without the ape update, he is still pretty much a large, intimidating man.
He
But
is.
yeah,
He
that
is.
was really cool, and I love that actor too. So it was really cool to see him spread his wings, play not just like the quintessential superhero with a traumatic superhero, but also kind of a dick this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm,
And
mm.
Hannah John Kamen, we know her from Ant-Man and the Wasp. She was great in that. She was great in this. And then there's this other actor, okay, that is in this, and he's someone that kind of, you've seen him in a million things, but you don't necessarily know his name, and that's Neil McDonough, and I hope I'm saying that right. Right, Neil McDonough. Um,
Oh yeah, no, he's awesome. Yeah,
Dude, and he kind of looks a bit like your dad.
a little bit.
A little
Does
bit
that
like
mean
your dad.
Does that mean he looks like
He
me
looks a bit
too?
like you, yeah. But
Yeah.
now when he see, it's funny. He comes on screen, and I'm like,
Mm.
that dude. I've seen him in so many things, and it's those actors that come into a movie, and you're like, I'm really glad you're in this. I don't know who you are, but I know your work, and it's kind of like Keith David. Keith
Mm.
David's another one of those actors. Keith
Yeah.
David has been in fucking everything, man. The guy is, he's been in two of my favorite movies of all time, They Live and The Thing. But he's been in so
Mm.
many things. His voice has been in so many things. And when he comes on screen, you're like, and I'm sure that's why casting agents use these actors,
Yeah.
because they come on screen and there's something comforting about them. It's like, I know that guy, or I know that girl. She's been in this, she's been in that. And you just feel, so when I saw that guy in the movie, who's got a pretty important part, I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm into this. So, and you wanted to talk about the music.
How about we go to Robbie's
Yeah.
interview and then we leave everybody waiting, because I got some stunning facts about the music in this movie
Yeah,
that
because
I can't wait to see you pop for, because it's something else.
Yeah, because we were both talking about the way they use music in this movie was just phenomenal. But
Yeah.
all right, but anyway, without any further ado, this is our chat with Robbie Amell from Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I watched the movie last night.
Cool.
So I went in really cold, because I did watch some of the earlier movies, but then I watched it and realized this is a complete reboot, which I think is great, because someone who might be coming into the Resident Evil franchise and not knowing anything. I watched the first few movies. My wife's a massive fan of the Resident Evil franchise. We've got the box set at home. I think she's looking to upgrade to 4K. So when she heard there was a new Resident Evil movie, she was excited. But of course, this being a screener, I had to watch it on my own. And I really, really was scared. I was watching this thing fairly late, and this thing scared the shit out of me.
Great. I'm so glad.
Now, the fact that this gives you pleasure kind of concerns me.
Well, it's Resident Evil. I grew up on the games. One of my earliest childhood video game memories are the dogs jumping through the window and scaring the shit out of me. So I think the movie should be scary. And I think I'm a huge fan of the original movies as well. My buddy Sean Roberts played Wesker in them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've seen every one of them.
Yeah.
I have a great time in them. But what's cool about our movie is that, you know, it is an adaptation of Resident Evil 1 and 2. It's much more true to the games. I think if you grew up on the games or if you played the games, you're going to lose your mind. And if you haven't, it's a cool 90s zombie movie that happens to be a little scarier than most will expect it to be.
Well, that's the thing, you know. I remember watching some of the other Resident Evil movies, not being that scared, being, you know, but this, I was really scared. And my son, who's 17, my son's 17 and he's into retro, like he calls it retro gaming. I mean, for us, it's like maybe retro gaming, but for him, it's retro gaming. And he said, Dad, I've got to see this. This is, everyone's buzzing about how this is so game accurate. So,
oh, that's cool. That's super cool. That means a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to Johannes Roberts, our director, because our first meeting, we just geeked out for an hour talking about the games and his adaptation. And I mean, he went to Capcom and got the blueprints for the mansion and the police station. Like, he wanted it to be accurate and he wanted to deliver on the adaptation that he knew, you know, the gamers wanted. And I think he delivered. I mean, the movie, every week for me going to set, you know, every 2 or 3 times a week, I would be like, oh shit, no way. Like, this is right out of the game. My first time standing in the mansion was like, it's so perfect. And then there's things that are just in the background too. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's right there, but there's a lot of stuff that's just in the back. I think people that watch it 2 or 3 times are going to be like, you know, there's that new thing.
Right. And, you know, you talk about the dog, and, you know, there's just something about these zombies that, they're really, really scary because it seems like they can go anywhere and there's no rules. Like, you know, with a lot of zombies, there's, you know, you're going to get bit, you're going to rise up, you're going to go after someone. But these zombies seem to be able to go in a lot of different directions depending on who you're dealing with, you know?
I mean, that's the kind of the thing where, like, some of my favorite movies, zombie movies, are the older ones, like the original Dawn of the Dead, where they're in the mall. It's a great movie, but, you know, as you saw with the remake, the zombies have to get smarter and faster because they're just not that scary anymore. You know, it's a different time. So I think what Johannes did really well with Welcome to Raccoon City is he stayed true to the adaptation and he set it in the 90s, which we can take some liberties with, so like just with technology, which I actually think helps. Yeah. It's nice. And it's a little bit of, you can get away with a little bit more. It's great for the music. I think the music in the movie is awesome. But then he made the zombies, you know, more aggressive than they are in the game. And that's not to say that, you know, the game's easy or anything, but like, because if you get swarmed, there's not much you can do in the game because the controls aren't that great. Right. But like he upped the stakes and he made things faster and stronger and scarier. And I think it lives better today.
You know, you talk about it being set in the 90s, and you know, I host a show in Montreal, radio show, and one of the hours that we have every night is called the 90s at 9. And I mean, I'm a big 90s fan. So yes, the music spoke to me. What else spoke to me was the technology. I don't remember the last time I saw Palm Pilot.
I know. When they pulled it out, I was like, oh, cool. Like a real Palm Pilot.
I know. And it was just, so there are things that immediately bring you into a certain place, which I think is great. But, you know, like you touched on, someone like myself going in completely cold versus someone who's a fan of the game, who knows the game. I think when my son sees this, he's going to come back to me and go, Dad, this is so accurate. So I think you guys have succeeded on that level. So I commend you guys for that. I've talked to Hannah John before, when I was doing stuff for Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's wonderful. And
she's awesome.
Right off the bat, she comes on screen and she's a badass.
Yeah. She's, I'm a huge fan of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm a huge fan of hers, and she just delivered. She was awesome. She was also just super cool, super down to earth. The whole cast was. We got really lucky. I mean, it
seems like you guys had a lot of fun.
We did. It was a weird time to shoot because it was pretty prime COVID time.
Yeah.
But we were all in a bubble together, and we were very lucky to be working at the time. But I mean, everyone was just super cool, and everybody was excited about making something. And you know, it was one of those things where you're making it, and everybody kind of felt like we were making something pretty cool and delivering on what people wanted. So it was a good time.
You've had, you know, a lot of success and a lot of people talking about Upload. Because
thanks.
this is seeing you in a completely different light. You know, it's nice to see that you can really, like, you've got a wide spectrum of you know, ways you can go when you act. You're not just this
Thanks.
one guy. So, and I know we're here to talk about Welcome to Raccoon City, but I have to talk a bit about Upload. I mean,
Sure.
It must be fun for you to be able to flex different acting muscles.
Oh man, I mean, Upload's amazing because I get to work with Greg Daniels. I'm such a huge fan of his, Parks and Rec and The Office. The guy is an absolute genius, and it's just one of those things where I get to say words that are very well written and very well thought out, and he's so good at blending these genres. And at the end of the day, you know, I'm able to relate to what he writes very well. He's, you know, I always think that how hard it is to memorize something is a good depiction of how good the writing is.
Yeah.
And that's not always true, because I'm sure, like, you know, Aaron Sorkin type stuff, paragraphs and paragraphs of dialogue takes a little longer, but that's not to say it's not good writing, because he's absolutely incredible. But like, Greg has this conversational way of writing that is still so captivating and so funny, that you just pick up so quickly. And it's hard to explain, but, you know, getting to work with him is just kind of an actor's dream. He's super collaborative. He has no ego, even though he's wildly successful and always the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
But I've just been really lucky to get to be a part of that show.
I don't want to give anything away when it comes to Welcome to Raccoon City, but there seems to be a possibility of there maybe being more.
I hope so. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if the movie isn't successful, then you never get a sequel. But
Right.
If the movie's successful, I think that it has been teed up for more. I know that everybody had a blast doing it. You know, the producers that were a part of it from Sony and from Constantine Films, who are, you know, kind of the heads of the Resident Evil.
Yeah, they've been
world,
there since ground zero. Yeah,
they were great, and it felt like they, you know, really liked what we were doing. And I know Johannes was, you know, this was a big deal for him, and he's a big fan of the source material. So all I can say is I hope it does well, and I hope we get to do more.
We talked about the scares, and there legitimately are some really scary, and I watch a lot of scary stuff. Okay. I'm a horror movie buff. I kind of was like, from the beginning, I was like, man, like, I don't know if it's the sound design. I don't know if it's the way the jump scares are designed, but this is starting to really creep me out. And then I had to take a bit of a break because I was traveling, and I got back, and then I watched the rest, and then I was really alone. Like, everybody was asleep and I was alone on my laptop with my headphones on, and I started really getting freaked out. What when you were growing up, what were the scary movies that you remember that stay with you? Like, I can tell you mine was The Omen.
Oh, okay. Jaws.
Yeah.
Just messed me up as far as water goes.
Did it really?
Anyone that watched Jaws was like, yeah. I'm not going swimming anytime soon. I really enjoyed, you know, some of the classics, like The Shining, just from a movie standpoint, but it never really was a movie that stood out as scary. You know, what's a really weird one that just hit me oddly was the movie Signs.
Yeah.
Where the alien walks past the hedges, and it's like that home video sort of, that was like, that image just kind of ingrained itself in my head for a little while.
Because it's real. Like, it feels real because it's not beautifully shot, beautifully lit. It's crappy, but it's realistic. It's something, you know, that you could, and that's sometimes to me, less is more. So when you watch something like,
for sure, the imagination is way scarier than anything you can shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think why Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City got me was that it seems like you guys used tons of practical. There didn't seem to be a ton of CGI, which I always find a lot more, is more believable. It just hits you more.
It's more hands-on too.
Right. But the sound design, I mean, the sound design, and no one talks about these guys and girls.
Oh no, sound is
so important.
Wildly important. It is. I mean, a sound is going to cue the scare before, it visually happens.
Yeah.
And the tension that builds before that moment is all sound design and score. And yeah, can't say enough great things about everyone involved on that end on Raccoon City.
I'm a massive superhero fan. I know you were really involved with the Flash, but when are you coming over to the MCU? We got to get you. We got to get you over to the MCU.
I'm in. Yeah, make a call for me. I'm in. I'll do it. I don't care who it is. I used to be like, I really want to be this superhero. I want to be this superhero. But like, it's funny. Guardians of the Galaxy was one of my favorite movies, and I didn't know much about the Guardians of the Galaxy before it happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of Thor as a superhero until Ragnarok, and I thought that Taika Waititi just directed the shit out of the movie and turned it into something that is now, debatably my favorite MCU movie. So it's funny. I would if Marvel called, I would pick up the phone immediately and I would just say yes. I don't care who the superhero is.
I think it's coming. I mean, listen,
thanks. I appreciate it.
I think you'd be great in the MCU. Well, look, listen, welcome to Raccoon City is a lot of fun. It scared the hell out of me, and that says a lot because I watch a lot of scary shit. So I'm kudos to you, kudos to the entire team, and continued success, man. I'd love to see more of these, and I'm really happy. We spoke a few years back at Ottawa Comic-Con, and
very cool. All right.
Yeah, and I always knew that you just had this way about you where you're very personable, and I imagine you're probably really easy to work with. So I hope people keep giving you stuff because you deliver. Like, when I saw Upload, I was like, there's more to this guy. Like, he can really do different stuff. So congratulations. That means a
lot. I really appreciate it.
And I mean it. I really mean it because I watch a lot of stuff, and I'm always cheering for fellow Canadians, but
for sure.
But it's but really, man, for someone who went in not knowing anything about the game, I knew it was different from the other Resident Evil movies, and a tip of the cap to you guys for killing it and for scaring me, because that's not easy to do. So
thank you.
I wish you nothing but continued success, and thanks for taking the time to chat today.
You too. Thanks a lot, Jason.
All right, man.
Dude, what a nice guy. Like, I was kind of hoping he would be a total asshat considering how pretty he is. Like, I can sleep better at night knowing those insanely pretty people are, like the princes in Shrek 2.
Yeah.
Just like, dicks. I'd be like, well, at least I'm nice. And what a nice guy.
He's a really nice guy. And it's funny because when I was chatting with him after, Julia, who's our producer on the show, she was looking over some of the footage and stuff, and she was like, and I was like, you think, yeah, I know. It's kind of weird to see like him next to me. I know it's like kind of like here's what went wrong and here's what went right. But anyways, regardless,
this is your body on drugs. This is your body off.
But seriously, he's such a good dude. And I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited to see where he's going to go in his career. And I'm also just waiting to see who he's going to get cast in. I'm also waiting to see where Marvel's going to cast him, because I'm telling you, Marvel's going to come calling for that guy soon. It has to happen. It has to happen.
I think him and his cousin, they should just play some sort of Steven. I think they should both play some sort of, I don't know, actually ironic role in a Marvel universe. Give them a horn on their head, put some prosthetics on them. Let's cover that up, okay?
And it's funny. I and it's kind of something I wanted to avoid talking about at all, because every time I've heard Robbie Amell being interviewed, someone's asked him about Stephen Amell, who's his cousin, of course, from Arrow. But like, no, dude, the guy's got his own thing going on. And we had him at Comic-Con in Ottawa, and he was just such a rad dude. I remember everybody that met him really liked him. So I didn't want to really bring up Stephen Amell because, Stephen's got his own career and he's done great, but Robbie's very much on his way and doing his own thing. So I think this is going to cement that too. I think a lot of people are going to like Resident Evil. So, but you wanted to talk about the music.
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, check this out. Before we set this up, let's just say the music in this movie is awesome. Has a real John Carpenter feel. This movie takes place in the 90s, so there's not cell phones everywhere. And also there's kind of a flashback in the beginning that I assume would take place in the early 80s, given the time difference. Now, in that flashback, it really kind of felt like Prom Night 2 or a Halloween 3 or a kind of that slow, still feel. And I'm like, this composer is like my spirit animal. Like, I really feel like he gets it. So as I look up his name right now and I saw the work he did, all of a sudden everything makes a lot of sense. So his name's Mark Horvin, and some of the highlights he has worked on is The Witch.
Oh wow! Okay.
The Lighthouse.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I like the music so much.
I know. I'm like, oh my god, this is Jason's dude.
Yeah, totally.
This is crazy. And he has about 81 other credits that I can go through, but it's going to take forever. He's even worked on the Twilight Zone in the 90s TV show. It's crazy that how much he gets it. And that's a type of dude someday I just want to hear from, because he definitely, like when you're inspired by John Carpenter, but you're not copying him. It's not plagiarism. It's kind of like, you can be inspired by the feel, but at the same time, it's not note for note. And it's just like, come on, dude, get your own ideas. He clearly has his own ideas because The Witch and the Lighthouse are insane.
So what I love about Robert Eggers as a director is, and he, of course, he's, responsible for The Witch and responsible for the Lighthouse. He just has this way to just bring that gothic feel out of everything. And I was so obsessed with the Lighthouse, Ryan, that when Julia and I went to, we took a trip to the Gaspésie, we did a lighthouse tour. and I wanted to, and then we found this one lighthouse that was like up on this cliff that you could stay in the lighthouse operators' quarters overnight. You could rent it as like an Airbnb. And I had this whole idea that I wanted to go there in the fall, rent it out, and watch the lighthouse in that lighthouse. I thought it would have been so cool because the old lighthouse was still operating and stuff.
Some people go to New Zealand to do the Lord of the Rings walk. You go to a lighthouse.
They'd just be fun. It would be amazing. Anyways, but yeah. So the music in this is the name of the guy again.
Yeah, it's Mark Horvin.
Mark Horvin. All right. So Mark Horvin. Yeah. Now I know I have the soundtrack to The Lighthouse. I got to see if I have The Witch, but I love the music in The Lighthouse. So that's great. So it's another thing I got to buy. It's not that I've got to look for the soundtrack to Welcome to Raccoon City now. So let me ask you about one thing about Robbie Amell. Like we talked about, we did talk about him being cast in Marvel, and I brought that up to him. He seems super open to it, right? He's like, Marvel, call me, I'll come. Who seriously? And you're enough of a fan. Who would you see him playing in a Marvel movie
that hasn't already been done yet? I'd say Scott Summers
in the new X-Men, right? Wouldn't he, like the reboot? I mean, I don't know if it's cast yet, but you're right. He would make an amazing Cyclops. He would make an amazing Cyclops. Well, there you go. So, Kevin Feige, if you're listening, and I know you're a big fan of the podcast, Robbie Amell, Scott Summers. It's done, sealed, signed and delivered. We gave it to you. You don't even have to give us, just invite us to the red carpet premiere and we're golden, right?
Yeah, because he also has kind of a young voice too. So I kind of want to see a Cyclops that doesn't seem like he's 30 or 40 years old. I want to see a guy who's young enough to be like, why am I still listening to Professor Xavier to the letter when it comes to his orders? You know what I mean? Like that's something I really want to see, whatever the MCU does. And I think Robbie Amell would be a great Cyclops. If you see Upload and you see Wolverine the X-Men, you see how disenfranchised he is with just being himself and the team member after the Phoenix saga, then you'll know in Upload he has the potential to be a dick too. And I think I think Robbie Amell could be that dick.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, it's been an absolute blast again, spending time with you, chatting all about fun stuff. And that's what we do here on the Rockman Power Hour, but we would not be able to do it if we did not have great sponsors like we have. And this week we have a really great one, Playground Poker. I want to remind you, if you are someone who is into poker, if you are into slot machines, this is the place to go. And it's only 15 minutes over the bridge from downtown Montreal. Just take the Mercier Bridge and you will find Playground Poker. 40 poker tables, 500 slot machines, free beverage service to all players, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. And right now, the Poker Bad Beat Jackpot promotion is over $500,000. So a lot to be won. They even have a special on Mondays, $19 for a prime rib, 10-ounce prime rib and scampi dinner for $19. And they also pride themselves on incredible customer service. And Ryan and I are going to go check out Playground Poker, and we've been invited, so I'm excited. We're gonna be a couple of slots together. We said that last episode. I thought that was great. Thanks again for hanging out. We want to thank everybody involved with the show. Of course, I want to thank my co-host Ryan Stick. I want to thank our producer Julia Kajerski, and again our sponsor, Playground Poker. We will see you all again next week. And until then, make sure that you like down below if you're on YouTube. Hit the button to subscribe and hit the button to be alerted when new episodes pop up. And if you are streaming us on your podcast streaming service, just subscribe and you will be alerted every time a new episode drops. Again, thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.